something about that. That's right.
Hello, David. I am reintroduce myself. I'm born in Santa because we have just talked in the corner a while ago. This is something about writing process of your or writing process and the flow of the publishing. In writing, there's such a thing as revision and to some extent criticism and in criticism. I'm curious if, of course, you have your original text. Okay, then of course this book is a collection of your columns in Mindanao Daily Star, Daily Star Gold,
Mindanao
something.
Star Day.
Yeah. So what I'm curious about is in your submission of the manuscript to your editor, uh, did you revise it individually as a writer? Uh, of course, you submitted your story to the paper, and then the editor had uh, his own editing. Did he edit you, or
Well, I have to say,
it was an intact from the beginning of your manuscript?
I have to say that at the Mindanao Gold Star Daily, for my column, I don't know what it's like for others. There's very little editing. Pretty much it runs as submitted. Now, that said, I do a lot of self-editing, a whole lot of revisions, and that's because, you know, I've been in journalism for most of my life. I'm 74 years old now, so I have a lot of experience, and I have a certain editing process that I go through, and I write something, and then I forget about it for a few hours or a day, and then I go back and I read it, and I can do more now than I ever could as a young person. I'm able to read things with a fresh eye, and I also can read it on my phone. I read it's all on the cloud, so I can get it on my phone. I'll wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning, I'll read it again on my phone, make changes. So I go through a very rigorous self-editing process. I don't get a lot of editing from outside. A little more with the book publisher, you know, they do have an editing process. But again, compared to what I used to go through at the LA Times, it's very light. I mean, the LA Times is much more rigorously edited than anybody I work for now. So
Yes.
I think I've internalized my own editing process. So most of them I'm my own editor nowadays.
So in the publishing flow, did you with the permission of the paper that you have written all these essays
Do I have permission?
from the publishing from the paper that you have written
To
all
put
this?
it into the book, I mean, and yeah, they're very, you know, this is the Mindanao Gold Star Daily is a regional daily. You know, it doesn't have a huge circulation. I think it's known in a certain area, but I think they're happy to get recognition and to be read outside of Mindanao. So they're very happy to let me publish it anywhere. You know, the book, they were ecstatic about the book. They're happy to have other publications pick it up. I think they like to be credited as, you know, the original source, but they're perfectly happy to have me. And I even asked them, I even asked the editor, you know, can I do other stuff with this? Said, yeah, go for it. They're happy.
Will they get royalty from the
I suppose it depends. Depends on who publishes it. You know, they're not getting anything from the book, but neither am I. No, they're not getting anything from the book. That's just mine. You know, but I did credit them in the book, and in the introduction and the author's note, credit them as a source for the original source for the stories, and in the acknowledgement, I acknowledge the editors there who published it. So they're getting some recognition, but they're not getting any royalties.
Do I have questions on this side? Okay, FPJ. You know why? Because it's already 4:45. We have to just wrap this up quickly because I'd like to give a chance for the others to have their photos with David with their book. And to all the other friends, please feel free to converge. I just want to wrap this up quickly.
Yeah, I'm FPJ or Florencio. My question is, have you also compared your writing style or the feel of the book, like your previous book compared to this one, and how would you compare them?
How's this book changed from the first book?
Yes.
I would say this, I think the style hasn't changed dramatically, but these are much shorter pieces, and each piece sort of stands alone, you know, whereas the previous book, the first book anyway, was kind of a more of a flowing, it was a memoir that flowed, you know, this is more a collection of essays, but I believe and I hope that read as a collection, it reads kind of as a memoir, but each piece is shorter and more focused, I would say.
All right, last two questions from Orly and Bon.
Hello, David. Congratulations. I'm an avid Bill Bryson reader, and you know, when I first read a few chapters earlier, it was like reading Bill Bryson all over again. But this time it's more in your face because I'm Filipino, and you wrote something about the Filipino culture, which for me is much more satisfying.
Yes.
I'm wondering what are your plans in the future in terms of moving forward with this post-colonial narratives of the, you know, post-dysphoria of Americans, of the West moving to the
Yeah,
East.
yeah. Well, I of course hope that this book gets a lot of attention and a lot of readership, and I think this is a great start. I told you I want to do an audio version of it. I've already got enough essays, enough columns written for a follow-up, and I will definitely plan on doing that, which will kind of, this book really takes us through the pandemic. The next book, one of the themes of that will be the Typhoon Odette, which hit us very hard and blew the roof off of our house, and, you know, blew all of our furniture away and all my relics. So the next book will deal a lot with that, and I wrote a lot of columns about that. And of course, interspersed in all that will be the whole cultural narrative of living in the Philippines, and I'm sure that things are going to be very interesting here for the next few years, probably forever, as things evolve.
Thank you. Okay, hello, I'm Bon. From the start, what changes from your perception of about the Philippines and knowing it before, and what changes now about what can you say about your understanding? Because looking from the outside as a foreigner and now as an immigrant.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I have to really think about that. I think that early on, I didn't have much of a perception of the Philippines at all. It was far away. I mean, of course, I heard about EDSA and, you know, that whole thing, that's history, and I knew about all that. But I didn't have any real sense of what the values of the country were, what the people are like. And then when I first, I guess I kind of shared some of the, you know, early on, some of the American perceptions of, you know, it's a third world country, it's a poor country, impoverished, and so on and so forth. And some of that is true, but I think now my perception is much deeper than that, you know. It's not just a superficial view of a country that is developing economically, but of a country that has a rich culture and rich heritage and rich history and identity, you know, a rich identity that I think I never really realized before. I had an appreciation of that. So I would say that's what's happening, and I hope that continues. I'm not at all at the end of my journey. I hope that it continues to deepen, and, you know, I will learn more every day, and I try to learn something every day. I've learned something from you today. All your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone.